Good evening, constant reader. Tonight, let's compare and contrast two short works by Stephen King. We'll be talking about The Ledge from Night Shift and adapted into the anthology film Cat's Eye, and we'll also be discussing Something to Tide You Over from the CREEPSHOW comic book and film. One takes place high in the sky and the other down in the depths. But they do have a lot in common, including the bitter satisfaction of revenge. Webster's dictionary defines cuckold as a man whose wife is unfaithful, and literature is filled with cuckolds. In fear of becoming one, Shakespeare's Othello is driven into a murderous rage. In Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, the carpenter in the Miller's Tale becomes a laughingstock when his wife takes a lover to their marriage bed. And don't get me started on the bridges of Madison County. And so it is with Stephen King's The Ledge and The Creepshow Tale. Both stories feature a cuckold antagonist who is wealthy, powerful, and more than a tad bit psychotic. We never learn too much about any of these characters, but we do know that Creepshow's Richard Vickers is a millionaire with a house on a beach, a fondness for video gadgets, and a deadly possessiveness of his wife and anything else he believes he owns. After he discovers that his young spouse Becky has been having an affair with handsome Harry Wentworth, Vickers sets a sinister trap. First, he buries his wife neck deep on the shore, setting up a camera with a live video feed. Next, he lures Harry to the beach, forcing the adulterer into a similar situation. What follows is a chilling death sequence, especially for anyone with a fear of drowning. And Richard Vickers watches it all from the comfort of his seaside mansion. In The Ledge, our antagonist is a similar cuckold named Cressner. His wife has been having an affair with a tennis pro named Stan Norris. Cressner is another shady millionaire, but instead of residing on the beach, he lives in a penthouse on the 43rd floor. Unlike Vickers, Cressner does not act alone. He has a team of hired thugs and detectives who monitor the two lovers, taking photos, even filming a movie with a camera hidden behind a hotel mirror. Cressner lures the tennis pro into a trap. His henchmen have stolen Norris's car and have planted heroin within the vehicle. Atop his penthouse, Cressner proposes a bizarre wager. If Stan Norris can step over the balcony and make it all around the building using the 5-inch ledge to avoid a 40-story drop, then he can earn $20,000 in cash, and Stan and Cressner's wife, Marcia, will be free to continue their romance. But if Stan refuses, then Cressner will notify the authorities and the drugs will be found in his car. Then Stan will face decades of jail time. Stan accepts the wager and steps outside onto the ledge. All the while Cressner, the diabolical cuckold, watches with delight. These are tales of revenge, and what's fascinating about this genre is that as a reader, we don't always know who to root for. In The Count of Monte Cristo, the protagonist is wrongly imprisoned for decades, all because of another man's jealousy. We cheer when Edmond Dantes finally escapes, and we're on his side as he exacts revenge. Why? Because the torture Edmond endured warrants a severe comeuppance for the villains who betrayed him. And some of us cheer for Hamlet, hoping he'll finally make up his mind and avenge his father's murder. And yet we, the audience, and the main character are never exactly sure the best way to go about seeking vengeance. And consider Edgar Allan Poe's classic yarn, The Cask of Amontillado. Our narrator Montresor lures the drunken Fortunato into the catacombs. He never tells the reader exactly why he wants to entomb Fortunato. It has something to do with his besmirched honor, but we get no further details. When Montresor chains Fortunato into his catacomb cell and begins to seal the man in, brick by brick, are we rooting for Montresor? Probably not, but we're morbidly curious. What did Fortunato do to incur such wrath? We're never sure, and so we never fully know how much we should despise Montresor. But Vickers and Kressner? We definitely loathe them. And why? They too have been betrayed. True, they haven't been wrongfully imprisoned, they haven't lost a parent. Instead, their wives fall in love with other people. And in both cases, these millionaires don't even love their wives. They view their spouses as part of a grand collection. Because these antagonists have failed to humanize the people in their lives, we offer no sympathy in return. When Claudius laments upon the church altar, sick with the sin of fratricide, we may still view him as a villain, but he at least has a soul, has complexity. Vickers and Kressner, however, follow the guidelines King sets out in Why We Crave Horror Movies. All moral shades of gray are vanquished. It's as simple as black and white, good versus evil. We want to see Vickers and Kressner fail. We want to witness their power deflate. And in each story, we are not disappointed. We cheer on the tennis pro as he risks his life 43 stories above the city. When he gets past that pesky pigeon and stumbles back into the penthouse, we expect Kressner to commit some kind of double cross, even though he claims to have never welshed on a bet. Sure enough, we learn that Mrs. Marcia Kressner was never going to be reunited with Stan. Kressner's men murdered her earlier that day. So if Stan wants to be with her again, he'll have to take a trip to the morgue. Kressner is a man used to winning, accustomed to getting what he wants, all because he has a bodyguard with a gun. But when the tide turns and Stan overwhelms his captor and points the gun at Kressner, the villain becomes a very different person. And this is my favorite moment in this type of story. Kressner's true self, his cowardice, is revealed. Kressner tries to lie his way out. It doesn't work. He offers more money. It still doesn't work. Now, with a gun pointed to his head, he is forced to face the same challenge of the ledge. And now, Stephen King describes Kressner with words like trembled, white-knuckled, dead pale. All of Kressner's bravado has evaporated. We know the man does not stand a chance as he leaves the balcony, and the story ends with the reader waiting, just like the narrator, to hear a distant splat from down below. There's a similar downfall that takes place within the Creepshow story. The key difference is that the antagonist actually accomplishes his goal, though it doesn't work out the way he thinks it will. He wants to murder his wife and her lover, and he succeeds. He just didn't count on a supernatural reversal of fortune. Undead versions of Harry and Becky emerge from their watery graves, a pair of seaweed-laden zombies. Like Kressner, Richard Vickers feels emboldened by firepower, but he soon discovers that bullets don't work on these undead lovers. Not even a headshot does the trick. Also, like Kressner's situation, the tides have turned. Vickers is placed in the same mortal peril which he inflicted upon the adulterers. But here's the key difference between the two husbands. Kressner became squeamish, fearful, pathetic. Vickers, on the other hand, loses his mind and bursts into laughter as he waits for the tide to approach. The comic book leaves him in full lunatic mode, confidence still intact, but the film version shows us the moment in which Vickers' confidence bursts like a bubble. Of course, there are many other loathsome husband characters in the Stephen King universe. Why don't you leave a comment, constant reader, and tell us which one of them you love to hate the most? And as always, thanks for watching and subscribing.